Hi, my name's Rich Boren, the owner of Cruiser Services, and in today's Schenker Watermaker Tech class, we're going to talk about the subject of membrane and system cleaning. It's one of those subjects that I think needs a little further investigation and detail, going over the technical side of what you're doing, why you do a membrane cleaning, what it can help, and just as importantly, what a membrane cleaning probably won't help. Because I hear a lot of times from people, hey Rich, I did a membrane cleaning, but nothing changed. Well, let's talk about that and maybe what happened. So let's get started. First, why do you need to clean a membrane? What are some of the signs that you should think about a membrane cleaning? First of all, let's talk about the two types of cleaners and how they apply to the different situations where you would need to do a membrane or a system cleaning. So there's two styles of cleaning compounds. And in the Schenker world, that would be an SC2 or an SC1. And that's true chemical-wise for all brands of Watermakers. But the SC2 is they call it storage compound 2, but it's also a membrane cleaning. It is a base. It is a base material with a high pH, which is going to dissolve organics. So it's going to clean your system from organic contamination. That could be biological growth, or it could be some mild oil type of organic chemicals. Normally, when oil is in a membrane or a system, you're in big trouble. It's time to get a new membrane. But if it's mild with a slight organic film or biofilm, that would be the base cleaner. If you have scale, meaning calcium deposits or some type of scale that has built up on your RO membrane, that's when you would use SC1, which is an acidic compound, a citric acid-based cleaning reagent, also used as a pickling reagent when the unit is setting unused. So those two cleaners act together. Of course, you never mix them together because one's an acid, one's a base. So the procedure-wise, just logistically, for best results, you always want to use the base cleaner first. You always want to do the organics cleaning process first, do a freshwater flush in between, then use the acidic, the citric acid SC1 cleaner to do that cleaning process. You never want to mix them together without doing a freshwater flush in between, because in general chemistry, you don't want to mix an acid and a base. That can be an exothermic reaction, produce some heat, and actually damage your membrane. Now that we've talked about the different cleaners and what they do, let's also talk about when you would want to use them. How do you know your system needs a cleaning? As you may have picked up on, if the SC1 acid solution is your pickling reagent, every time you pickle your unit for a long-term storage, you are doing a membrane cleaning for scale. Scale is the number one contaminant of RO membranes, because what happens is you have seawater flowing through your RO membrane at a certain pH, a certain concentration of sodium and chloride ions. You're now removing from 10, 15, some water makers even 20% of the fresh water from that seawater stream. That changes the pH. It changes the chemistry of the seawater to where calcium will want to precipitate out of solution and form a scale-like substance on your RO membrane. It's just part of the desalinization game, especially in marine water makers. That's one reason you hear people talking about matching the flow of your high-pressure pump to your membrane surface area, because if you're not whisking away that brine seawater fast enough, that higher concentration seawater with a different pH, a different chemical properties, is now sitting on the membrane for too long and will promote scale formation. So you need a membrane to be continually flushed as well as possible during operation to whisk away that higher concentration seawater before it has a chance to precipitate out calcium and scale up your RO membrane. So when you pickle your unit using the acidic pickling reagents, that actually does some membrane cleaning for you. One of the classics is, hey Rich, my ppm is high. I need to do a membrane cleaning. And that's the two characteristics of I need a membrane cleaning. One, high ppm. Now that can be caused by a lot of things other than membrane contamination. So we need to talk about that maybe in another video. Don't just assume your membranes need to be cleaned. Low flow causes higher ppm, so other things can cause it as well. But in general, high ppm could be due to a membrane that needs cleaning. Before you do that membrane cleaning, you need to make sure your flow rate through your system is correct, which is an easy thing to do. Measure your product water and your brine water flow rates. Add those together. That should equal the rated output of your high pressure pump system. If it doesn't, you don't have high ppm and low flow due to a dirty membrane. It's because your feed pump, your high pressure pump, isn't sending enough water through the RO membrane. So that's just a little side tip to know, okay, I probably do need a membrane cleaning. Now, a lot of times people say, hey, I did a membrane cleaning and it didn't do anything. Nothing happened. My ppm stayed the same. You can have high ppm. Let's look at this scenario. You have a high ppm, but your flow rate is right where it should be. May not be membrane cleaning is going to do anything, because usually low flow and high ppm due to membrane fouling go hand in hand. But you want to give it a shot anyway. But if you have a high ppm due to microscopic cracks and physical damage to your RO membrane, maybe it got chlorine in it, which damages membrane. Maybe it's just old. Maybe it's had pressure fluctuation at startup and shutdown that's been crazy. You're slamming your unit 900 PSI right down to on and off. Your generator cut on and off, and you've ruptured your membrane. You've microscopically tore it. It doesn't matter how much you clean it. The cleaners are removing scale and organics. They're not fixing the RO membrane. An RO membrane's from $285 up to $500 depending on where you are in the world. So a membrane cleaner, Schenker, we sell the membrane cleaners for $25 for an SC1, $25 for an SC2. So it's an easier, less expensive thing to try to start with. But if your membrane has physical damage, you're going to do a cleaning and be right back where you were. So that's just the reality. In terms of cleaning, we talked about always do the base first, followed by the acid. So in Schenker language, that's the SC2 first, followed by the SC1 with a freshwater flush in between. Now, almost all membrane cleaning takes time. So when you read the manual, it talks about making a circulation circuit, taking your brine discharge, putting it in a bucket, pulling from your feed pump out of that bucket that you've mixed up your membrane cleaning reagent in. So that way, for 20 minutes, you're going to run your unit in a closed loop. It's pulling out of the bucket, it's putting back into the bucket the cleaning reagent. You can just do a straight through the unit, but you're not giving your chance for the cleaning reagent to have its best bang for the buck. So you'd like to recirculate it and run the unit for 20 minutes. You don't run the system at pressure, whether this is a Schenker, a Spectra, an energy recovery Watermaker. You're going to do this with the depressurization valve open. If it's a piston pump style water maker, you're going to do this with your pressure regulating valve all the way counterclockwise opened up. So you're just recirculating the cleaning reagents through the system. So you want to do that for at least 20 minutes. That'll give the material, the reagents, a good chance to work. Now, where membrane cleaning goes wrong, and it's very similar to how pickling goes wrong. The cleaning reagents, the pickling reagents, none of them play well with salt water, seawater. So before you start either a pickling or a cleaning process, you need to do a very thorough freshwater flush of your system. Get that seawater out of there so that you're only recirculating the cleaning or the pickling reagent along with fresh water that was in your system. If you leave seawater in the system, you're deactivating and taking away a lot of your membrane cleaning reagents' ability to clean the membrane. You're changing the pH, you're changing the chemical composition a bit too much, and you're not giving yourself the best chance of having a successful membrane cleaning. So if you're going to go through the process of cleaning the membrane, first thing you do, put a brand new pre-filter in, because that has 95% of the nasty animals and the stuff you filtered out of the water. Stick a new pre-filter in, do a 5 to 10 minute freshwater flush, really purge out all of that seawater. Then start the membrane cleaning. Mix up your SC2, your base in a bucket, have the brine discharge going back to that bucket. That way, when you start the unit, you're sucking out of the bucket and going back to the bucket, and you can circulate that in a loop for about 20 minutes. Then do a freshwater flush in between, so you're purging out the base so that when you start again with the acid, you're not mixing the acid and the base inside your water maker. So 20 minutes each with a 5 to 10 minute freshwater flush purge in the middle. That will not only give your RO membrane a cleaning, but I've opened up lots of water makers over the years, and you would be surprised at what amount of slime, gunk, sludge is living and staying inside your water maker. So is it a bad thing to clean a water maker every season, every other season? I don't think so. I think it's a good part of maintenance. You know, if you think about it, okay, you're getting ready to pickle your unit. You're going to leave the acid, the citric acid, in your system, the SC1. Well, before that, do a 20-minute base circulation through your unit, freshwater flush, then do the SC1. But after you circulate it for 20 minutes, you're now pickled. You walk away from the system until next season. In an ideal world where water maker maintenance is king, I would recommend everyone do that as part of their putting their water maker to bed for the season. Have a membrane cleaning, and not just a membrane cleaning, but a system cleaning built into your put the boat to bed scenario. Yes, it's another step, and I know it's easy to say, do another step, but this stuff builds up over time. So by getting it out annually or every other year, but I'd like to see it done annually, keeping that thing clean inside is going to go a long way to keeping things from breaking, keeping things from building up that normally wouldn't cause a problem, but now maybe are causing you a problem. And, you know, there's plenty else to do on a boat, so doing a membrane cleaning with the base and the acid and then leaving the system when you leave for the season, I think it's probably worth your time to do. Because when I look at why I do troubleshooting, the vast majority of my troubleshooting time and phone calls and emails is because of lack of good maintenance. So throwing in a little extra maintenance, I think you're only going to get better on. Now, some people that have piston pump water makers, you can still use the SC1, the SC2, the acid and the base. They sell those as separate chemical reagents. That's when you buy a membrane cleaning kit from whichever manufacturer you have. Those are the chemicals inside that kit. The only thing I want to mention, because it's a danger, Will Robertson type of event, Metabisulfite, whether it's sodium or potassium, is a standard pickling reagent for piston pumps. That is dangerous and will damage an energy recovery water maker like a Spectra or a Schenker. While the cleaning reagents are universal, an acid or a base, the pickling reagent for a piston pump water maker of metabisulfite cannot be used inside of a energy recovery water maker. So another reason that you may need to do a membrane cleaning is the standard mistake of, I let my water maker sit too long between running or freshwater flushing. Now the thing smells like rotten eggs. I can't get rid of that smell. It goes away after 10 minutes of running, but it's back the next day. Well, membrane cleaning, specifically that base, which will dissolve away and kill the organics, that will get rid of that smell. Because what's happened is bacteria are living in your water maker when you get that rotten egg smell. You can flush the waste products from that bacteria, the hydrogen sulfide gas, away and purge it out at the beginning of the run, but many of those bacteria are still there. They're still in the system. So the only way to really get all of that out is to do a membrane cleaning. That will sterilize your unit and start you over. So if you're having that problem of no matter what I do, I can't get this foul smell out of my system, first of all, change the pre-filters. That's where all the bad animals primarily live. Then you may need to do a membrane cleaning. And it's not just a membrane cleaning, it's a system cleaning because you're circulating that through the system. So that's the topic of membrane cleaning. Always happy to answer questions. If you have a topic you've been wondering about your water maker, shoot me an email and I'll be happy to make a video presentation on that topic. My email is rich@cruiserservices.com. I'm available 7 days a week on my email and cell phone. So give me a shout if you have questions. I'll be happy to help. Everyone have a great day and enjoy your water maker.